Last week, my neighbor opened his mail and found a notice. Traffic violation, $300. Nothing unusual about a ticket until he told me what happened. He wasn't racing down the highway. He wasn't blowing through red lights. He was driving 6 miles per hour over the limit on his normal commute. Same road, same habit he's had for years. But in 2026, that exact behavior suddenly cost him $300 and pushed him close to losing his license. That sounded odd, so I started looking into it. And what I found is more serious than most people realize. While millions of people are worrying about exaggerated or completely fake new laws they see in viral clips, real state-level changes are kicking in quietly. Changes that, in some places, can put your license at risk after just 2 or 3 routine mistakes. Over the past 2 weeks, I've been checking claims one by one. I called DMV information lines. I read the actual statutes and regulatory updates. I spoke with traffic attorneys who are already representing people caught by these new rules. I'm not an attorney, and this is not legal advice, but before recording this, I compared everything with official state DMV sources, published legislative summaries, and multiple news reports. You should always verify for yourself, and I'll point you to official sites where possible. What I'm going to share will probably make you want to review your own driving record as soon as you're done watching. But before we get into the real changes, we need to clear out some of the noise, because if you can't separate what's false, it's easy to ignore what's true. I've seen clips with millions of views claiming that starting in February 2026, a nationwide federal law will fine you $1,000 if your insurance lapses even for a single day. Roadside cameras will automatically ticket you $500 anytime you touch your phone. Hidden sensors in the pavement will measure your emissions and auto-fine you $400. Every car will be inspected for a black box, event data recorder. And if you don't have one, you'll pay $750. Here's the reality. Those specific claims are not accurate. There is no set of new federal traffic offenses taking effect in February 2026. In the U.S., day-to-day driving rules are managed by states, not by a single national traffic code. And no state has rolled out the exact systems described in those viral fear-based videos. The problem is that while people are busy panicking about these made-up scenarios, genuine rule changes that do exist are taking effect and catching drivers by surprise. A few days ago, a traffic lawyer in upstate New York told me about a client who just lost her license. 2 tickets. That's all it took. 1 citation for speeding while rushing to drop her kids at school. Another a couple of months later for holding her phone at a red light. Under the new rules, that was enough for a 60-day suspension. She works as a home health aide. Without a license, she can't get to her clients. Without work, she can't comfortably cover her rent. She had no idea the point system had changed. If you live in New York, or even drive there regularly, this part matters because it's not theoretical. It's already in motion. Under the old structure, New York drivers who accumulated 11 points within 18 months could face suspension. That's been the standard for years. Beginning in February 2026, the threshold is shifting to 10 points over a longer 24-month window. At first glance, that might look like a minor adjustment. 1 less point, slightly longer time frame. But taken together with other changes, it has a real impact. Here's why. Points will now linger on your record for 2 full years instead of a year and a half. Several common violations are being reclassified with higher point values. Some infractions that previously carried no points will now add to your total. To see how this can snowball, compare a simple example under the old and new systems. Previously, driving 6 MPH over the limit might carry 3 points. Using your phone while driving might cost 5 points. Total, 8 points. That's frustrating and expensive, but still below the suspension line. You'd have some margin to recover over time. Under the updated scheme, that same modest speeding ticket might be assessed as 4 points. That same phone-related violation could now be 6 points total. 10 points. That's enough to trigger a suspension. In other words, 2 incidents in a 2-year period, neither of them extreme, could be enough to temporarily take away your license. And this isn't just rumor. New York's DMV has publicly outlined these revisions. Attorneys and insurance professionals are already adjusting their advice accordingly. On top of that, Some things that were once treated largely as fix-it issues are now tied to points. A broken tail light that used to result in a repair notice and small fine might now be 1 point. An illegal U-turn that once led to a fine only may now carry 2 points. Blocking traffic or failing to move over for emergency vehicles can carry more points than before. So imagine a sequence that doesn't feel reckless at all. You get pulled over once because a tail light you didn't realize had gone out is cited. Plus 1 point. A few months later, you make a quick U-turn after missing a street. Plus 2 points. Total 3. Later, you're clocked going 8 over the limit on a highway. Plus 4 points. Total 7. At a red light, you briefly pick up your phone to change a song and an officer sees you. Plus 6 points. Total 13. That adds up to more than enough for suspension. It's not just the legal privilege to drive that's at stake. Insurance companies use your violation history when setting premiums. Even if you haven't yet crossed the suspension threshold, being at 6, 7, or 8 points can lead to significant increases, hundreds of dollars per year or more. State officials will frame these changes as safety-driven. They may cite numbers like over 180,000 speeding citations issued in a single year, hundreds of traffic fatalities despite safety campaigns. Their argument is that adjusting penalties for behaviors like speeding near schools, passing stopped school buses, or ignoring move-over laws is necessary to reduce accidents. The challenge is that the point system is a blunt tool. It doesn't always distinguish between someone who repeatedly drives dangerously and someone who had a cluster of otherwise minor mistakes in a short time frame. There is, however, at least one established way to reduce the impact of points in New York: approved defensive driving courses. These programs, which still exist, can reduce the point total counted towards suspension by up to 4 points. If you already have several points, completing such a course before the new rules fully apply could give you important breathing room. Now, maybe you're thinking, I don't live in New York, this has nothing to do with me. But there's a broader trend across multiple states worth understanding. Take California. Viral videos claim there are 10 new California laws that will hit drivers with massive fines in 2026. When you look at the actual legislative changes, the picture is more nuanced. Real changes in California include the ability for cities to lower school zone speed limits from 25 mph to 20 mph with a gradual rollout. Stricter rules for e-bikes, including requirements for rear reflectors or lights, and improved battery safety standards. Extensions of ignition interlock device programs for those with DUI convictions. An expanded move-over requirement that applies when vehicles with hazard lights or warning devices are stopped at the roadside, not just emergency vehicles. These are designed to address specific safety issues, reducing speed around schools to lower the risk and severity of collisions involving children, addressing an increase in e-bike injuries and fires caused by faulty batteries, protecting roadside workers and stranded motorists. There's also been attention on a law that allows for fines up to $1,000 related to obscured license plates. In detail, that provision targets people who manufacture devices intended to block or distort plates for cameras, not ordinary drivers who have a standard plate on their car. As for self-driving vehicles, California is setting rules to hold manufacturers accountable in certain situations. Unless you operate or ride in those vehicles, most of that doesn't touch day-to-day driving. So yes, there are changes, but not in the sensational form some viral content describes. Still, a pattern is emerging across multiple states. More hands-free phone laws are now primary offenses, meaning you can be stopped for that alone. Camera-based enforcement for speed. And red lights is expanding, especially in school zones and high-risk areas. Fines and point values for certain violations are increasing. In places where hands-free laws are now primary, you can be cited for holding a phone while stopped at a light, looking down to scroll, using a device that's not properly mounted for many years, using a phone while driving was treated more leniently or enforced only in combination with other infractions. That leniency is disappearing in many jurisdictions. Camera enforcement creates its own challenges. Drivers may not even realize they were speeding in a new camera zone until a notice arrives weeks later. Depending on the state, those camera tickets may now count toward your point total, be shared with your insurer, or both. The point here isn't to claim these laws are good or bad across the board. It's to be clear that enforcement is evolving, technology is being leveraged more often, and the margin for harmless mistakes is narrower than it used to be. So, what can you actually do, practically, to protect yourself? A few straightforward steps. If you're in New York, check your current point total on the official DMV website. If you already have several points, consider taking an approved defensive driving course before new rules fully take hold. Fix small equipment issues quickly. Burnt out bulbs, cracked brake lights, obscured plates. What used to be a non-point problem in some states may now add to your total. Slow down in and around school zones. Even if all the new limits aren't posted yet where you live, stricter enforcement is likely. Treat hands-free laws as if they are being enforced. Use mounts and voice commands. Avoid picking up your phone, even at red lights. If you ride or your children ride e-bikes in a state with new safety requirements, make sure the equipment complies, especially lighting and batteries. Most importantly, don't rely on viral videos to understand your state's rules. Go directly to your state's DMV or equivalent agency website, official legislative summaries, or advice from a qualified professional if you're already in trouble. Every state posts updates to its traffic statutes. They may not be packaged in dramatic videos, but they are there. As for misinformation, extreme, exaggerated claims get clicks. They generate comments and shares. When people later realize some of those claims were overblown or flatly wrong, they can become skeptical of all warnings, including accurate ones. That's the real danger. When real, documented changes, like New York's point system overhaul, are dismissed because they get lumped in with fake 10 new federal laws videos. So if you found this breakdown useful, consider sharing it with someone you know who drives regularly. Encourage them not just to take my word for it, but to verify, state by state, what is actually in effect where they live. Traffic rules are tightening in many places. Enforcement is more data-driven than it used to be. The risk of financial and licensing consequences from everyday lapses is higher. The solution isn't panic, it's information. Check official sources, adjust habits where necessary, and remember that a few small changes, like putting your phone in a mount, easing off the accelerator in sensitive areas, and staying on top of minor fixes, can save you a lot of money and stress over time. My neighbor, the one with the $300 ticket, scheduled a defensive driving course, fixed his light, and now uses cruise control to avoid creeping over the limit on his commute. Not out of fear, but because he realized that with the new rules, another ticket isn't just annoying. It could cost him his license and his livelihood. Being informed and making small adjustments now is far easier than dealing with unexpected suspensions and huge insurance increases later.